Scooby-Doo Doors, also known as the Freleng Door Gag, door slammers, or simply door chase scenes, are a staple comedy trope and quite literally a running gag in cartoons and animation. If you're familiar with Saturday morning cartoons, you've seen this one before. A static shot of a hallway lined with doors on either side suddenly appears in the middle of a chase scene. The chaser and one or more groups being chased enter a door only to emerge from a different door, or opposite doors, and the gag follows different variations from there, usually set to corny comedic music, and with each rendition adding their own twist on the trope. But the question is, where did this joke come from? Scooby-Doo Doors are so named after being popularized by the Scooby-Doo franchise, but in animation the trope predates Scooby-Doo by more than 30 years and is in fact older than television. So what are the origins of this trope? Who did it first and when? These are the kinds of questions that keep me up at night, and when there are no answers on the internet, that just makes me more determined to get to the bottom of it myself, and I never believed that researching the history of Scooby-Doo Doors would take me back centuries. And not knowing where to start, I turned to Scooby-Doo. Total Jeopardy is the 20th episode of Season 2 of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, and which debuted on November 13th, 2020. In the episode, Velma and Shaggy take part in the game show Jeopardy, hosted by the original Jeopardy host Alex Trebek, who voices himself in the episode. Competing against the two is a robot named Max Kilobyte, who becomes increasingly annoyed by Velma answering all her questions correctly, and at one point loses his cool and starts chasing the host and guests around the studio, triggering a Scooby-Doo Doors scene. Alex Trebek takes this opportunity to shed some light on the topic and explain the origins of the gag.
Running from door to door in this manner was first seen in French farce, and that dates back to the 15th century in works like La Farce de Maître Patelin.
Farce is a genre of physical comedy whose humor lies in situations that are highly exaggerated, extravagant, ridiculous, improbable, and absurd. Farce indeed dates back centuries, and the French farce play mentioned in Scooby-Doo, which translates into English as the Farce of Master Pathelon and can be dated back to around 1457, is considered one of the oldest and is probably the best known farce, which gradually emerged as its own theatre form in France in the 15th century and then later around Europe in different forms. Shakespeare's The Comedy of Errors tells the farcical tale of two sets of identical twins separated at birth, whose accidental reunion in the same town leads to a series of mistaken identities and numerous misunderstandings. Carlo Goldoni's 1743 Servant of Two Masters tells the story of a servant serving two masters while trying to prevent either being aware of the other. And the play included farcical scenes of characters running on and off and across the stage, either looking for or avoiding each other or mistaking each other's identities. A bedroom farce is a type of comedy that focuses on couples and combinations of characters passing through multiple doorways, narrowly missing each other due to perfect timing. Doors and the slamming of them became a hallmark of the genre, where characters constantly enter and exit through multiple doors, either avoiding or narrowly missing each other while creating a sense of chaos and confusion. We're perhaps starting to see the roots of the Scooby-Doo Doors trope, but when was the first time it was ever portrayed on screen? Well, the earliest example I've been able to find is from 1919. The German silent film The Doll at one point features a scene that takes place in the middle of a town square, where the character Lancelot is chased across the screen from door to door by a group of eager women. The 1921 Buster Keaton film The Playhouse featured two variations of the door chase trope, while perhaps the earliest, best example of the Scooby-Doo Doors joke we've grown to love came in the 1923 The Little Rascals short film, The Dogs of War, which featured a scene in which a security guard chases after the eponymous gang of kids when they trespass inside of a movie studio. The earliest example of the gag being used in animation that I've been able to find is from a 1931 Flip the Frog cartoon called Movie Mad, produced by Oob Iwerks. In it, Flip the Frog wants to be an actor and wanders into a movie set where Wild West shootout is taking place, which Flip thinks is real, and where he too is chased by a security guard. A standard door chase scene occurs which has little to do with the plot, But it's interesting to note how standardized the gag already is at that point, probably inspired by the Little Rascals film 8 years before, and also how the scene plays out like every cartoon door chase scene that would follow during the next decades. The gag was next used by Walt Disney in his 1941 Pluto cartoon, Bone Trouble. A variation of the gag appeared in the 1943 Tom and Jerry short, The Yankee Doodle Mouse. And then 1 month later, another door chase scene took place in the Looney Tunes short Porky's Pig Feet, featuring Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. The door chase gag has also become known as the Freleng Door Gag, after director Friz Freleng first used a variation of the gag in his 1944 Merry Melody short, Little Red Riding Rabbit. And variations of the trope appeared in at least another 5 Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes shorts throughout the 1940s and 50s. Tex Avery first used the gag in his 1946 short Lonesome Lenny, and later featured a variation of it in his 1949 short Little Rural Riding Hood, before another variation of the gag would be seen in the 1951 Disney feature Alice in Wonderland. Hanna-Barbera were already familiar with the door chase trope and featured it in their 1964 episode of The Flintstones entitled King for a Night. Also in the 1969 The Perils of Penelope Pitstop episode The Terrible Trolley Trap. And again the next year in the Where's Huddle episode Hot Dog Hannah. A memorable and particularly surreal rendition also appeared in the Beatles feature film Yellow Submarine, released in 1968. And that finally brings us to Scooby-Doo. Variations were used in the earlier episodes of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? And in the first episode of the second season, Nowhere to Hide, the chase scene involving Scooby, Shaggy and the ghost of Mr. Hyde took place in a hallway lined with doors for the first time. The new Scooby-Doo movies episode Guess Who's Not Coming to Dinner debuted in 1972 and featured the first fully recognizable Scooby-Doo Doors chase scene, which took place at Moody Manor, where the gang are chased by the ghost of Captain Moody. That's about all we know of the Scooby-Doo Doors trope, its origins and its appearances in animation before it was popularized by Scooby-Doo, and which has been homaged and parodied by almost everyone, from The Simpsons to Family Guy and even Scooby-Doo. The gag is funny because it's so absurd. What's going on behind those doors? Will this joke ever get old? Not for me. But you let us know down in the comments what you think and what your favorite example was. And let us know of any other examples of the door chase trope that appeared in animation before Mystery Incorporated ever arrived on the scene. Please remember to like this video if you learned something today, share it with your friends who also enjoy a good door chase, and subscribe to this channel for more history on cartoons and animation. I'll be back soon with some more history of Saturday morning cartoons. So until then, thank you for watching and stay tuned.